Every single night, he'd tell himself he wasn't lazy. He had all these grand, sweeping plans to wake up at the crack of dawn, work out, learn new skills, just totally overhaul his entire life. But every morning, without fail, when that alarm went off, he just smashed the snooze button, and those 5 minutes, they always morphed into 30. Suddenly, his day is starting in a total panic. No workout, no quiet time, zero progress. Just this frantic rush out the door. On paper, his life looked fine. Okay job, small office, but deep down, he felt like something absolutely crucial was missing. He was totally stuck in this loop, waking up late, scrolling on his phone, going to sleep late, and making that classic promise to change tomorrow. But you guessed it, tomorrow never actually came.
So one evening, Arun is just cleaning off his table, and he stumbles across this old, dusty notebook. He opens it up, and right there is his own handwriting from exactly 2 years ago. And what's on the page? A massive list of all those grand daily goals he was going to accomplish. 2 whole years had vanished, and absolutely nothing on that list had gotten done. Now, he didn't laugh. He didn't even get that usual frantic surge of sudden motivation to, try harder this time. He just felt quiet. Instead of making yet another empty vow to fix his entire life by tomorrow morning, he stopped. And he asked himself a really profound, heart-stopping question. Why do I not trust my own promises? And in that moment, he had absolutely no answer.
Let's be real, Arun's grand plans were loud. They were ambitious. We're talking waking up at 6 a.m., walking for 20 minutes straight, reading, mastering totally new skills. These are exactly the kind of grandiose, superhuman plans we all make in the safety of the late night, right? When our motivation is peaking and we secretly plan to become like Olympic athletes by Tuesday. But his actual reality? It was rushed mornings, zero real progress, and just a massive graveyard of broken promises. You see, the gap between what we boldly declare at 11:30 p.m. and the quiet, totally empty reality of our actions the next morning, well, that's exactly where all our internal guilt lives. And for 2 years, Arun was trapped right smack in the middle of that gap, living in the space between the fantasy of who he wanted to be and the reality of his own inaction.
Okay, so the very next morning, that 6 a.m. alarm goes off again. His hand automatically reaches out to hit snooze, but this time, he stops. Now listen closely, because this is key. He wasn't motivated. He wasn't struck by lightning or suddenly inspired. He was literally just tired of breaking his own word. So, step 1, he just sat up. His brain is screaming at him to go back to sleep because it's way too early, but he just sits there for a minute. Then 2. Eventually, he stands up. Step 2, he washes his face. Step 3, he walks outside for just 10 minutes. That is it. Notice how totally anticlimactic this is? There's no cinematic training montage, no magical surge of adrenaline, just the unglamorous bare minimum reality of executing 3 tiny, quiet steps in the cold, gray morning.
When he gets back from that incredibly average 10-minute walk, where, by the way, he definitely didn't break a sweat or set any land speed records, that was his entire success for the day. 10 minutes, nothing special at all. But internally, something felt vastly different. That night, he opens up his notebook again, but this time, he doesn't have some giant checklist to cross off. He doesn't write out a long, triumphant essay about changing his life. He simply writes down one humble truth. Today, I woke up. And just like that, he broke a 2-year negative cycle. Not with a massive, loud burst of late-night inspiration, but simply by surviving a short walk and honestly recording a tiny, tiny victory.
Now, if you've ever tried to build a new habit, you know exactly what happens next. Day 2 is almost always harder. His body felt super heavy, his mind was completely flooded with excuses telling him, hey, you already did it yesterday, you earned a rest day. But Arun thought back to that dusty notebook. He desperately did not want to watch another totally empty year slip by. So once again, he sat up. Once again, he walked. It honestly felt slower and a lot more difficult this time, but he pushed through and finished it. That night, he wrote a powerful follow-up in his notebook. Today I showed up. He was starting to build a brand new track record. He wasn't focused on massive achievements anymore. He was literally just focused on not quitting. This actually led to a complete shift in Arun's mindset.
For years, he, and honestly, most of us do this too, had been asking the entirely wrong question. He kept asking, "Do I feel motivated?" But that is a total psychological trap. It's the trap of waiting to feel ready before you ever take action. So he took that unpredictable roller coaster weather of inspiration and replaced it with the right question: did I keep my promise today? It became all about the simple black and white accountability of honoring his own word. As the days rolled on, some mornings were incredibly easy and many were not. Some days he felt really proud, other days he felt absolutely nothing at all. But it kind of didn't matter anymore, because his feelings were no longer the boss of his actions.
As you can imagine, this journey to self-trust definitely didn't happen overnight. Let's look at the timeline. Day 1, just a 10-minute walk. By day 2, his body was fighting him, but he still pushed through. Fast forward a week in, and zero things in his external life had changed. He was the exact same guy, working the exact same job, dealing with the exact same problems. But there was one critical internal difference. He actually trusted himself just a little bit more. By the time he hit the 1-month mark, nobody on the outside could see a difference, but Arun noticed something massive. He wasn't arguing with his alarm clock anymore. He completely stopped making those giant, impossible plans at midnight and just stuck to his small, simple routine. Wake up, walk, read a little bit. He was quietly, steadily rebuilding the entire foundation of his self-trust.
During one of those morning walks, Arun happened to notice a neighbor calmly watering his plants. The guy wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, he just looked peaceful. It wasn't an impressive or loud thing to do, but it triggered this massive realization for Arun. Discipline is exactly like watering plants. Think about it. It doesn't shout, it doesn't look impressive to the neighbors walking by. It's incredibly slow, it's unglamorous, and it's almost completely invisible on a day-to-day basis. You literally cannot see a plant growing while you're pouring the water on it. But over time, that quiet, repetitive action changes absolutely everything.
And over the course of 3 months, the cumulative effect of those tiny, invisible actions became totally undeniable. Arun was reading more, he was getting to sleep earlier, and he was just worrying less. Now, let's be super clear here. His life hadn't magically become perfect. The profound shift, the real game changer, was that he had simply stopped fighting himself. He finally put down that exhausting burden of trying to fix his entire life in a single 24-hour period. That massive internal conflict just vanished, simply because his only job every day was to keep one small promise at a time.
So, this brings us to the philosophical core of what we're exploring today. Motivation is loud. It rolls in like this dramatic thunderstorm, demanding massive, sweeping actions. But just like a storm, it always passes. It comes and it goes. You simply cannot rely on it. Discipline, on the other hand, is quiet. It is built on incredibly small daily promises. It arrives more like the soft morning light. It's slow, it's steady, and it always returns. Motivation will absolutely hype you up late at night, but quiet discipline, that's the only thing that actually stays with you when things get hard the next morning. Based on everything in Arun's story, I think we need to completely redefine what success actually means. It's not about becoming someone magically different or pulling off this crazy overnight identity overhaul. Real success? It's simply becoming a person who keeps their word. Especially, and I mean especially, the promises no one else can hear. It's about what happens in the dead quiet of the morning when that alarm rings. Do you honor the commitment you made to yourself, even when absolutely no one is watching and literally no one is going to applaud you for doing it? That quiet and visible integrity, that is the real victory. A few months in, one evening, Arun opens up that old notebook once more, and he adds a brand new line right at the very bottom. Do not try to become a new person. Just do not abandon yourself. There was no dramatic celebration when he wrote that down. No big victory speeches. Just a deep, quiet understanding. Because whenever he failed, and yes, he still had tired days, and he definitely still missed the mark sometimes, he didn't drown in guilt anymore. He just started again the next morning. He simply refused to abandon himself ever again.
So as we wrap up this explainer, it leaves us with one incredibly important question to ask ourselves. Will you show up for yourself today? When your alarm goes off tomorrow morning, don't ask yourself if you feel ready or motivated. Ask yourself if you will show up. I really want to challenge you to drop the guilt about all those broken past resolutions. Let go of the desperate need to make massive, loud changes all at once. Just take one small, totally unglamorous step today. Keep one tiny promise to yourself, because at the end of the day, that quiet discipline is where your true transformation actually begins.